Sitting with difficult emotions is hard. Emotions like deep sadness, whether it's brought on by grief or depression, whether it is intense anxiety and overwhelm due to circumstances in life or a diagnosed generalized anxiety disorder, whether it's anger. Whatever the challenging emotion is, it's hard to sit with it. As humans, we've been conditioned to either ignore it, suppress it, run from it, or keep ourselves so busy that we pretend it away, is what I like to say. We pretend like it's not there, like it didn't happen, and we try and mask it with busy work and activity. And eventually, if you do any of those things, the difficult emotion never goes away, right? It might change form, but usually it's either the same at the same level of intensity, or it in fact increases because you haven't given it the proper attention that it deserves. And we do that because we don't really know how to address difficult emotions, right? We've never really been properly taught how to face it. If you have been around your mom or your grandmother, your aunts, whoever your maternal figures or female role models are in your life, especially in our community, that is how we handle. And I really hesitate to say that word because it's not really handling it, but that's how we handle difficult emotions. So it's hard when you get to be an adult in life to learn how to really sit with it. So I'm hoping that this little chat will give you some insight as to how I've learned and how I've taught others to sit with difficult emotions. And though it is simple, it's really challenging to do because, again, we haven't been taught and we haven't practiced enough with sitting with it. So if you are one that responds in a certain way to difficult emotions, I would urge you to do the exact opposite. And here's what I mean. If you are one that typically loses motivation, you lay in bed, you don't want to do anything, you don't want to see people, you don't want to even be known for a certain period of time. You just want to kind of stay in your little bubble and exist in your own world. I would urge you to do the opposite when it comes to sitting with difficult emotions. Sometimes sitting with it isn't actually sitting down and being still with it. It is responding in a different way. So if you're normally one that wants to just hide away and not face it and binge watch Netflix, TV or the Netflix app, whatever you want to call it, and you normally just want to keep to yourself, I would urge you to take tiny steps in the opposite direction. So get up, get out of bed, brush your teeth, call or text a friend, step outside on the porch for at least 3 to 5 minutes a day. Gradually move away from what you would normally do, because what you're doing now is you're suppressing it. You are trying to sleep it away. You're hoping that you wake up the next morning and it just goes away. And it doesn't work that way. So if you're one that sits, I want you to move. If you are one that moves, you have every single activity for the day, for the next year planned, because you don't want to face anything. You just want to cover it up. You want to stay busy. You want to climb the corporate ladder. You want to travel the world, not because you enjoy it, because you're running from difficult emotions. I would urge you to do the exact opposite. Sit still. Sit still. Sit with it. Tune inward. Ask yourself, what am I feeling? Ask yourself, why am I feeling this way? Ask yourself, what can I do in order to accept it and move on? or in order to rectify it, if it's a problem that indeed needs to be solved, and that's the result of your difficult emotion. So I would urge you to sit still and reflect. If you are one that typically moves with difficult emotions. So that is really the simple trick. If you are one that sits, move. If you are one that moves, sit. Sit and tune inward. Because both the opposite actions is running and suppressing and pretending it away. It's not dealing with it. If you are one that typically sits as you're moving, ask yourself those reflective questions. Go on a mindful walk while you are tuning inward, while you are staying present in the moment, and ask yourself, why am I feeling this way? What can I do about this to make it better if it's a problem that needs to be rectified? Or how can I accept it and move on? Again, if you are one that typically moves, sit. Be mindful. Tune inward. Ask yourself those 3 questions that I just mentioned. Why am I feeling this way? What can I do? How can I accept? If there's nothing that I can do about it, if it's out of my control, how can I accept? So that is the simple but very challenging formula to sitting with difficult emotions. It's really just about not running. It's really just about reflecting and asking yourself, how can I move through this in a very mindful but compassionate way? And it's really about being compassionate with yourself and learning that all of life is not happiness and roses and sunflowers. Sometimes it's pain and suffering through grief, depression, anxiety, fear, overwhelm, anger, not knowing what you feel, but just not feeling okay. And it all makes us human. It's just that we've learned to embrace and accept one, and that's usually everything that comes with a happy emotion. And we've learned to ignore, suppress, and run from the other. And that's usually everything that comes with the challenging ones. But as we say here at MoodWellth, for us, it's not about your best self, it's about your whole self. You'll never be your best self all the time, right? But you can always be your whole self and meet yourself exactly where you are. That means if it's a happy time in your life and a happy season, embrace, enjoy it, revel in it. If it's a sad time, be in that moment as well. Learn from it, embrace it, accept it. Get the lesson so that you can make the happier times even more frequent, because you're learning how to navigate the challenges and ride the waves when life is challenging and it's not consuming you. Because as you practice sitting with it, you're also increasing your confidence and your ability to get through the tough times. And that's what learning to sit with it is about. It's about learning how to increase your confidence to handle the tough times. The waves do not have to take you out because you're learning how to surf. You're learning how to surf through the tough seasons and stay above water, or at least not go completely under if a wave happens to try to take you in. That's what loving yourself in a whole way is about. It's about accepting both halves of you, the good and the challenges, the happy times and the sad times, because they all make us human. As always, I hope this was helpful. Wishing you love and light as you continue on your journey. Peace.